Sandy Fisher is somebody that works hard every day, it seems like, putting stuff on X. And there are all these wonderful pearls of wisdom that she'll bring out. And she'll believe things such as we need nothing short of a World War II level mass mobilization to reverse climate change. She's one of the few people that actually see this. So I'm glad when I see somebody else mentioning some of these things, because sometimes when I mention them, nobody seems to be really responding. She reposted Merriam-Webster's response, build people up and crime goes down. And that is just so right. She lays the line and the quote, all public policy should be built around one basic principle. What would help people thrive? Which is actually the core essence of what our Constitution and our nation is supposed to be. It is the core vision of what we are supposed to actually be. But today it seems very saddening that you have a lot of people out there, they're playing the Mimi game. They're just not getting it. So we're all in trouble. We effectively have many warning signs. As myself, I have been posting evidence for 2 years of violent attacks upon my archive, and the sadness of trying to convey the incredible hard work that went into the sorting of making what's called a true core system. That means pearls of wisdom. That means wonderful logic by brilliant people. That means lots of plans that help people up. Win-win deals. Yet, to try to convey this to other people on social media keeps running into situations with a lot of people that simply don't seem to care. There's like a lot of people out there that just seem to be as though they're really drunk and they only want to make lots of wicked jokes. Although there's lots of people that make very brilliant jokes. In fact, social media can become very addictive. There are people out there with incredible wit. And it's wonderful to actually see these interactions. There are a lot of different shades, so to speak, out there. A lot of subfactional interest in each party, or in all the parties. There's a lot of people that are still independents. They just don't see that one way or another that the two-party system is ever going to work right. They see it as two political parties averaging out belief systems in an effort to get maximum votes, which sacrifices higher intelligence, which obviously means that we can't achieve the goals that many independently minded people believe in. It used to be that a lot of different people who did certain jobs in government, like intelligence, they were actually independents, many of them. The majority of people that used to work at the CIA about 30 years ago were actually independents. They were not necessarily a member of either party. They effectively needed to be able to step outside the box of whatever box somebody was in. So they had to understand all the complexities of subfactional belief systems. This might mean that you may not always be fun at parties, but then again, you might be fun. You might be like Robin Williams, who knows. But in life, unfortunately, we are at a crossroads. We are at a dangerous territory. We have an abnormally high number of people in this country that don't see what we need to do. And we have lost touch. I mean, in 1750, the average 12 to 14-year-old was basically building their own home. Oh, usually with their parents' help. But they were basically qualified as basic primitive carpenters. Today, everybody wants you to have a master's degree, but you don't need that for building a single level 1 or 2 bedroom house. And this crucial skill was something people did in 2 to 6 months. Indians always did it. It was a survival item. If you didn't put a roof over your head, in many areas around the world and around this country, you would die. But people only lived to be 38 years as a statistical average. But now, 78 years is the number, and we're expected to work 45 years, yet 50%, actually over 50% of people, don't even own their own home. Most areas around the country tell people that you're not allowed to build your own home. You have areas in Los Angeles that basically it's like $42,000 for a starting permit to be able to start. That's the minimum, smallest structure. And if you're flipping burgers, it's only going to take you 15 or 20 years to possibly save that much money to pay for that permit. So this means literally we are stuck in lunacy. We have a system that has abandoned state-sponsored capitalism, but actually it's the other way around. China's adopted it about 22, 25 years ago. They've done very, very well with it. But actually, the argument is that they took much of that from our forefathers, and of course they modified it for the modern usages, making it more elaborate. And my mass modeling situation does something people would say is similar, but there's a difference. The difference is stewards got together, which were the original settlers and landowners, and said, we want to make a nation, and part of the reason we want to do this is for, well, all the right reasons. But one of them was to make our own national bank so that we, the people, could do our own governance and guarantee that we'd be able to borrow what little money we might need to guarantee real estate development. Those things you didn't have. In other words, we don't have nails. Oh, we've got lumber. Oh, we need another sawmill. Well, we need to set somebody up in a sawmill. So this was stewards, citizens getting together saying, we want to facilitate hard asset development, building our community up, building our own houses, building our own ranches, farms, whatever it was. And most people added on to it. They started out with one thing, and then they added to it. You had a lot of people, they added sawmills, they added furniture shops, they added blacksmiths, they added all these other things. And some people today say, well, you're just pointing at agrarian. And I'm like, it's so much more than that. We rapidly had machine shops, shipbuilding, everything in this country. And I have areas where I talk about it a lot. But we've stripped that away. We've taken the original vision that was people getting together saying we're building a nation because, as a group, we want to have control over the governance of our own financial future and asset development. And that is basically state-sponsored capitalism. And somehow that seems to have died. Now we only have elite people that are guaranteed seemingly unlimited amounts of money. But it's the labor that makes everything. We've devalued labor. Labor should always be bankable because it's labor that makes the houses. And if we don't put our foot down soon, the warning signs are flashing. It's very important. If we don't put our foot down soon, pretty soon these people that are very wealthy will turn around and say, well, we bought everything, we own everything. You people have become ants, an infestation in our area. When without people doing labor, they would have had nothing. So we need to put our foots down and say we need to make bankable our labor because we have power tools now. The modernization of this is substantial. The average person that's 14 years old, 16 years old, could easily have the carpentry skills to build 3 small 2-bedroom homes a year, as long as the resources were available and the land. And, we have to address that because there's plenty of land. You look at the Google map and the satellite, and there's plenty. Yes, you look at the satellite map and there's lots and lots of land, but we're told it doesn't belong to us. But then later on they say, yes, right here it says that it belongs to us, the people. Very confusing, but in effect, if you build 3 houses, you would rent one of them out. You would have an extra income. And perhaps you would rent 2 of them out. If you did that, you would have extra money to hire extra people. You would build more homes. You would build 5 homes the next year. And then renting 4 of those out, you would now have enough money from the other ones to be able to build 10 homes the next year. And from there, you would be able to build 15 or 20 more homes. So all of a sudden, this very rapidly expands. And I'll just tell you what it is. It's basically a minimum of 480 homes for 45 years of work. Because you parlay it, it very rapidly moves. You could actually do it in 10 to 15 years. But if you take it easy and you get to a certain increment and you just say, I'm just going to do this, I'm just going to do 5 to 10 a year basically, you're going to end up with 480 homes. So we have to ask ourselves very serious questions. We need to plant our feet firmly. And we have to say, excuse me, we have a problem. It's our labor that's bankable. It's our labor that's worth money. And we're not being guaranteed loans to build with. This makes no sense at all. This violates the original core contract of the original settlers, the original founders. So we have to address this. And people need to wake up and understand that they have to address this. If they don't address this, then we're really in big trouble. And that means we're on the verge of incredible violence like never before. So myself running as a candidate, I am guaranteeing everybody's labor. I am saying that, number one, I understand the legalist part of it. And from the White House, I can pull out documents from our forefathers and say, legally, we are committed to do this list of items. And Congress and the Senate may not actually be able to say things about that because they're the kind of things that are basically written in stone, as the saying goes, which means we currently don't have leadership that is willing to truly guarantee real opportunity, to guarantee self-max production. I'm willing to do that. I've been fighting for a number of years, a lot of years. I want to do mass water projects. That allows us to plant trees. Trees gets carbon out of the air. Now we're talking about we don't have creatures shrivel up into grapes. We basically can refoliate. We have people dying right now. They've been dying. We've got huge storm comes in. People are dying. Surplus water. Under my plan, we do a mass water project that sees storms coming and literally begins to do mass high-speed evacuation of water, moving it west basically to other holding areas, which are also running at high speed, moving it further west to the next and the next and the next. Because as we see these storms coming, we know 3 days ahead of time what's getting ready to happen. And it would be very helpful if we would begin evacuating water from certain areas to make room for the runoff. This would go a long way. So, by the way, selling surplus water that people don't need will effectively end poverty. The plan I laid out starts out with basically having the average Arkansan making $12,000 a year, and something similar for Louisiana and other states as it applies. Populations are different, water availability is a bit different, but essentially it's the same formula. And this means that we'll have lots of water, we'll be able to make lots of land green, we'll be able to protect against fires. This is what we need to do. This means we can get more rangers, we can get more stealth drones to give us better intelligence in remote areas, to give us more water available to put out fires, and be able to do something. And I'm one to say we need to bite the bullet. We need to actually feed our wildlife. Just allowing them to be all alone doesn't work for me. I've done a lot of hiking in my life, and what ends up happening is you go to areas and the water is not equally distributed, and you end up with wildlife, and you have, well, weather variations, and you have a lot of wildlife that basically dies. They die of thirst, and they die of lack of food. So we're stewards. We're human beings. We should be stewards. We can prevent this. I mean, we can make more fish. We need the meat. We can make more deer. Well, we need the meat. We can make more buffalo. We can make more of everything. But first, we have to be stewards to the land. We have to take care of the land. And that means that we have to do a better job at making sure there's going to be water there. Now we have fantastic technology that can help us think out ways to do things we never thought of. Fish elevators, basically dams that are multiple mini dams that have fish elevators. Why? Salmon will swim upstream, they'll jump right into these fish elevators. And the elevator goes up and takes them to the next level. And then they will continue to swim upstream. So you can actually do this. You can actually do this. We can restore that $4 billion a year. World War II money, $4 billion a year was what we had. And rapid, quick growth because of the fear of war had us build more rapidly and not put as much time into thinking. Well, we've had a lot more time to think. We can redo everything. AI now has the power to give each person the brains of 10,000 engineers. And it's going to double and double and double very rapidly. So we can do this. We really can do this. But we need to do something about the mindset where people just think that they can keep running around playing meme games and cheating each other for some small percentage at the here and the now, instead of saying, let's at least think about tomorrow and the next day. Anyhow, I'm getting away from where I wanted to go, but I wanted to talk about some things, and I wanted to thank Sandy because she's always posting these things all the time. And it's a very important thing to do. And I thought I would do something that was a little bit more personalized. So I could just basically say hi to Sandy and tell her that I appreciate all that she's doing. Sandy, thank you very much. And I want you to really have a good day. Michael Crosby.